It's probably not the only reason because there are probably personality conflicts in those kinds of environments because schools are melting pots of compressed ideologies and ideas, and it's very difficult to have any free thought there. Um, so it um, it's probably more complicated, and each situation is slightly different. Um, um, just as a thought experiment, what if the school doesn't want progression? What if the school doesn't want change? What if the school wants uh, failure in the sense of apparent success? And what I mean by that is you give everybody ones and twos when they should really have threes and fours. Um, what if that's what the school wants? What if the school wants the illusion? What if the school is happy with the illusion? What if the school it has an agenda which is different from the agenda of a motivated teacher? What if the school benefits by getting more money from the state for failure than it does for success? What if? As a thought experiment. If you stand up like a nail, you will be knocked down. School is a very authoritarian, top-down, socialist structure, and the hammer of communism is often used within its walls to make sure that nobody stands out or is really that much different from anybody else. Stupid people are not stupid if they get what they want. They are manipulative, but they are not stupid. Yeah, we very quickly come to the conclusion that people are stupid. I mean, I do this myself. I'm like, oh, what an idiot that person is. But really, it's not true because the more information we learn, the more we understand about why it is people do things. And nothing exists without a reason. Nothing exists without a reason. There's a reason for everything to happen. Um, and it might be behind some confusion, fog, and mist, and chaos. But there's always a reason for everything. So when somebody complains, they don't complain because they're stupid. They complain because they want some kind of action to happen. And if they get what they want, if some kind of action happens, then they're not stupid at all. They are um, manipulative and maybe dangerous. The bottom line of life is that it's not about pieces of paper, right? It's about the networks of people that you know. So it doesn't really matter that a person doesn't have a piece of paper because the the piece of paper can be faked or it can be projected as a future attainment for the person. The school can say, okay, we'll employ you for 6 months as long as you work at getting this qualification over the next 2 years or something like that. So the fact that a person doesn't have a piece of paper is not always a reason to not employ somebody. I can understand somebody saying, well, you don't have this safety qualification certificate. But at the end of the day, you employ the right person to do the right job, and you can get on the job training. You can train as you go. So can you imagine any company not? Can you imagine any company not employing somebody who's good? Can you imagine it? Someone shows that demonstrates that they're really good at doing something, and the company says, "Nah, we don't want you." I mean, everybody's going to want the person if they're good. Good is not an objective judgment. Good is a subjective judgment. So if you tell me this person is good, it might or might not be true. I don't know. There's no evidence there. Well, let's ignore the manipulation part because we all influence everybody in different ways. So influence is always un, uh, an accessible human characteristic, but popular is different. So Um, Popularity matters in closed environments, and a school is a very closed environment. So, um, what that means is what happens inside of school very often doesn't translate into the real world. So let's say you're really good at chemistry in school. It doesn't mean you're going to be a great chemist in the real world. It doesn't mean that. Say you're really good at, I don't know, doing something in languages in school. It doesn't mean you're going to use languages a lot in your occupation in the real world. So um, you have to understand the meaning of the words, the language, the deception, basically. When she says he's a good teacher, what she means is he's not a threat to me. So he does his job well in a limited capacity and poses no threat to the establishment. That is her definition of a very good teacher. The headmaster has the kind of teachers that they want, teachers of limited capacity. Anybody who changes the game um, or threatens the system must be crushed. They must be destroyed. Um, this is it's the old rule of kings. You know, if you perceive a threat from anyone anywhere, you kill them instantly. And first you try to do it covertly, quietly, and then you try to do it overtly, and then you try to do it personally if everything else fails. But you must destroy the threat within the system. Um, the true rebels are not the rebels that we're told are the rebels, because his character would be defined as rebellious. But the true rebel character is yourself. See, he's not rebellious. He's conforming to the idea of rebellion, which is not being rebellious at all. The real rebel is the person who changes things, who threatens things. And so you're in the position of the real rebel. So the real rebel's never in a position where they're cool. They're always in a position where they're in danger,
Hmm.
and they always have to be careful and look over their shoulder and worry about everything. Because, like, let's take a really horrible example, which would be the last two American presidents, right? Barack Obama was cool, but he was rebellious because he fitted in to the society's picture of what a rebellious president would look like. Yeah, so he wasn't really a rebel at all. He was part of the system. But President Trump, on the other hand, always has to look over his shoulder, always has to get somebody taste testing his food to make sure it's not poisoned, always has to have extra security guards because he's the real rebel. He's the real change. Yeah, he's the real changer. He's really changing things, which scares a lot of people because people like things to be the same, especially people in government. And so what you have is somebody in government, the institution that never changes, trying to change a lot of things. And so who you think is the rebel is not actually the real rebel. We are given these false narratives about culture and society. Um, there's no there's no honor for the real rebels. There's no winner in the wars. There are only losers and dead bodies. So it's hard in that context. The the system doesn't want people like yourself trying to raise the levels of achievement from within the system. They want you out because you're a threat and you're a danger. And this will be something that you face for the rest of your life because that's the way the system is designed. They have the illusion of change and the illusion of progress, but they have very little progress. And those people who do create change, um, it's it's change on what is essentially a parallel level. It's not change to go up to the next level. It's change on a parallel level where society diversifies to parallel interests rather than creating ladders so that people can step up to the next level. Um, there will be there will be more TV programs for kids, but there will be less instructional books about history for kids. So there'll be diversification, but it won't really be any progress. There will yeah, I once heard this described very accurately about skateboarding, where be like many sports existed in history, but in the sort of 1960s, 70s, 80s, skateboarding became more popular. And one of the reasons was that it was not a threat to anybody. It was a parallel activity. It was a way for people to channel their energy into something that changes nothing. Because skateboarding is not going to change the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might create one or two social media stars who get their pictures on magazines and who write a few books, and maybe they have their own brand clothing label or something, or their own video game or something like that. But they don't really. The whole activity doesn't really create a ladder for people to step up to the next level. It just creates more glue or mud to keep people stuck in the same place. So um, it's very hard for the the real progressive people. And the label progressive is put on a lot of people in a lot of places in a lot of situations unfairly because it doesn't describe real progression. Like if you support LGBTQ politics, that's not actually real progression. That doesn't really matter much. That's just another minority social group that want over representation. So, uh, so it's going to be it's going to be always hard. And look, the cool people don't change anything. They'll they'll smoke more cigarettes, drink more beer, get fatter, lose more hair, um, talk more relevant, cultural talking points, which don't really change anything, and they'll keep the status quo. Very important to keep the status quo, keep everything the same. Um, and they will progress through life without ever having that much real effect. They'll be cool in their own world, but their own world is so minuscule that it's not really very important. Right? Every heroes are only heroes to a certain group of people in a certain place. Outside of that sphere, they don't mean anything to anybody. Um, so, so if okay, imagine a situation like this. Imagine there's a guy and two girls, and both the girls would like this guy to be their partner or their boyfriend or whatever. Right? Imagine you're one of the girls. Yeah. Um, do you really want to fight with another girl to get the attention of the guy? See, I don't think that's just wasting your energy, right? I think that you would go to the guy and you would say, look, I'm interested in you. She's interested in you. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to play games. It's you got a choice. You can pick me or pick her. I'm not waiting around, but you know you better sort yourself out, right? So it's not worth the fight. It's not worth the struggle. You let people choose what they want to choose, and the system is so big. It's a Goliath. It's a behemoth. It's a monster, and there's very little that any of us can do to reorientate the bigger part of the system. But what we can control is how we interact with other people, and how we respond to certain situations, and to respond positively rather than negatively, which is difficult but still important. Not to resent the fact that other people are cool, but to say, well, it's nice that they fit in there. They probably belong there, and that's the easy path. Because to be cool, all you have to do is do a series of programmed social activities. That's all you have to do. You, you learn to smoke, learn to drink, learn to talk about football, learn to repeat whatever you hear on television, wear the wear the right brand of clothing, um, and you're cool. That's it. It's doesn't require any effort or any individuality or any personality to be cool, um, in general. So that's a choice that people make. And to be cool is to kind of erase your own personality, because you just become this image. Because the truth is that nobody is cooler than anybody else. Because we all have things that we do well and things that we do badly. And we all need to find a place where we can do more of the things that we do well to help more of the people that we want to help. And his skills are in that area of being cool. You know, his popularity is her popularity. You know, the people at the top feed on the success of the people beneath them. So that's that's the way that it is. Everybody has preferences. We can't be resentful or angry with people because they prefer one thing over another thing. Um, that's natural. That's the way that it goes. And it might change over time, and it might not change. Uh, there's I very much believe in some of the things that you've pointed out, which is that you want the students to be successful. You want the students to be able to do more. You want their skills to increase, and I think those are very uh, important and admirable wishes to have. I just don't think the system sees it the same way. The agenda of the system is not the same as your agenda. Um, and it's and I don't really like compromises very much. I can see where they fit into society. Um, I think if people, I think the problem is that people tend to compromise too much a lot of the time, and they just don't ever feel satisfied. I bet you the person who looks cool from the outside is pretty messed up inside their own head.
Yeah.
Um, I bet they have a lot of problems, a lot of difficult problems that other people don't know about, and that other people don't want to deal with. So it's it's hard in that respect. It's always difficult being an outsider and trying to come into some establishment where networks have existed for long periods of time. Um, I have the same problem where I am right now in Scotland, where I am trying to do some work in schools, and I'm offering my services for free to some groups that work with schools, and the schools say they don't want it. So that's okay. I will go and spend my time somewhere else. I have a whole list of things that I can do. I'm not limited by waiting for something to happen. I try this. If this doesn't work, I go on to the next thing. I do this. If this doesn't work, I go into this. I have a whole list of things that I can do. It's not a problem for me. Um, but it is interesting how people don't want help, especially schools. They don't want. We have everything organized. Well, that's great. So that's why average IQ has dropped 10 to 15 points since 1980, right? Because you've got it all organized and it's all working perfectly, right? That's why um, there's no real social progress. That's why um, there's nothing of quality that's really being created within the region because you've got it all under control. That's why there's no leadership. It's madness, and you can offer people the best thing in the world for free, and they won't take it because they because their road is different, their agenda is different.